Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing an overview of our day in Aruba aboard the Carnival Horizon. Started off nice and early at 6 a.m. watching the sunrise, and you can see lightning over the island, which was a cool, beautiful way to start the day. And then we had a full day after that. First we went to the California Lighthouse, then the Casibari Rock Formation, then the Natural Bridge. After that we went to the SS Antilla Shipwreck, viewed the reef, and went to the beach. And let's get right into it. Our first stop after getting off the boat was the California Lighthouse on the northern tip of the island. Here's Dylan in front of it, and here's Gavin overlooking the ocean and the windswept terrain. Our next stop was the Natural Bridge on the northeast side of the island. So it was super cool, and it was formed by the waves crashing into the limestone and eventually just eating away at it. And the actual bridge actually collapsed in September of 2005, and it's just partially remaining, and here you can see the part that's still up. And off in the distance here, you can see where it collapsed. And then after that, we moved on to the Casibari Rock Formation. This large formation is located in Orjeanstad, and the original inhabitants of the island look at this as a sacred place. And now it's a great place to have a great vantage point over the island. You can see all the way around, as really there isn't anything else with elevation on the island. And next, we'll get into a little bit of the history of the island and some information. Aruba is a Dutch island, and it's home to about 106,000 people, and it is one of the ABC Islands, along with Bonaire and Curacao, which we also visited on this trip. And there's 4 main languages spoken on the island: Papiamento, Dutch, English, and Spanish. But the main language spoken on the island is Papiamento. This one came over in the 15th and 16th centuries, and it is a Dutch Creole language, and is widely spoken in the Dutch Caribbean, or Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And it has influences from both Portuguese and Spanish. And linguists believe that Papiamento would be most similar to what Portuguese would have sounded like back in the 15th and 16th centuries. And the capital of Aruba is Orjeanstad. It is the largest city on the island and is home to about 31,000 people, so about a third of the population lives in the capital. Aruba is known for its very hot weather, and it only gets about 18 inches of rain a year. And we went in October, and Aruba is outside of the hurricane belt. So while it is peak hurricane season for the rest of the Caribbean, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao are actually safe, which makes them a great place to visit during that peak hurricane season. And Aruba is hot year-round. The average temperature at the high is September at 91 degrees on average, and the low is January at 86 on average. And then the best time to visit the island is usually January to May, where those high temperatures are just a little more manageable from the 86 to 88 range. And then if you're looking for the ocean temperature, the best time to visit is in October. Something that we were very surprised about was it looks more like a desert than it does tropical on the island, which is a lot different than a lot of the Caribbean. And there's lots of cactus and a lot of cacti. And a really cool thing is that they have the Sahara dust come over from the Sahara over in Africa. And that's from late spring to early fall. And then everything on the island, because of all these high winds, is very windblown. So if you see trees, they're very much pushed towards one side following the wind. And there really isn't many trees that grow very tall because of this wind. And then our final stop on the island was the SS Antilla Shipwreck. This was on the northern side of the island, just off the coast, really close to the California Lighthouse that we had visited earlier. The ship was commissioned by the Hamburg America Line. It made its maiden voyage in July of 1939, and it sank less than a year later in May of 1940, just off the coast here in Aruba. The ship was originally intended for trade between Europe and the Caribbean, and it was just about 400 feet long and about 55 feet wide, and it ended up getting scuttled in the Aruban waters. And what happened is Aruba came to board the ship during World War II, and the crew said no and refused and would not put down the gangway. So overnight, while Aruba was coming up with a plan to board the ship, the crew scuttled the ship, which means they sank it intentionally. So the next morning when they came out to try and seize the ship was in flames. They couldn't stop it, and then the ship went down, and that ship was no longer been able to be used by the Aruban and Dutch militaries. But now it's a great place to see the coral reef and see fish and wildlife. And we were able to see a sea turtle and a lot of fish. And thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to see more of our adventures.